All right, today's topic, saving money. Now, my first bit of advice is realize you're getting this advice from a really poor homeless dude. Actually, not so homeless right now, trying to get out of being so poor. But anyhow, it may be better to get financial advice from somebody who successfully has a lot of money. But the problem is, to get to that level, you kind of need money. So if you're like me, one of the people that are on the poorer side, struggling to even have like any money to invest and stuff like that, you're just making it day by day, then maybe the advice here might be suitable. Okay, so that's my little disclaimer here. Obviously, if you have money, it's easier to save money and make money when you have money. That's just a fact of life. Before I lost everything, I was doing okay, and it was actually easier to save and make money when I had money. But going down all the way to rock bottom and then trying to build yourself back up, these are the I guess the real world advice that I can offer to you based on my own experiences, and that is to assess what it is you're saving for. If you're trying to save money just to save, it's going to be very hard to figure out how much you need to save and what you need to do. What you want to do is kind of have a goal in mind as to what you're saving towards. So saving money in itself isn't really that good. I mean, it's nice to have money, but you could save and then you don't know what you can blow it all on something that you didn't save for a purpose. Now, in my case right now, I'm actually having to speed save because I lost everything. I used to have money in the bank. I used to have money in my wallet, lots of money. I mean, not like a lot, but always enough that if somebody needed money, I could just hand them some money. But with everything that has happened to me and stuff, money has become extremely tight. So I've had to learn to basically get by on very little money. Like, my own cost of living is probably, if we don't count like child support and stuff like that, my own cost of living is probably about less than $200 a month. Really. That includes about $60 a month in telephone payments and approximately $40 to $50 a month in gas for going to work. And then the rest is living expenses, which is food. So, I can actually live off about $200 a month or so. Except for one thing, okay, and this is the caveat, and one of the things you can save money on, and that is rent. Okay, so coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, has some money but isn't like super wealthy and stuff, one of the biggest things I think you can save money on is rent, paying for a mortgage or a rent. And so everyone's situation is going to be different, but if you're in a situation where the majority of your money is going to rent, you might want to consider what it is, if that rental is actually worth it to you. I know a lot of people work very hard and they put all their money towards rent because, that's what it takes to live. But the problem is, and you're just paying for a place to live so you can get back to work to make more money to pay for the place that you live at while you go to work. In other words, you're caught in this cycle of living from paycheck to paycheck, and you're never going to get ahead, and you don't even have enough money left over for retirement or anything like that, because all your money is going into just staying alive. Rent is probably one of your biggest expenditures. At least for me it is, okay? So you might want to assess rent or mortgage or something like that, and see if maybe, depending on your own physical health, your age, your situation and stuff, maybe if you could take a little bit of suffrage, if you want to call it that, and live a little bit poor. When I say live poor, I mean live below your means, because the lower you can go below your means, the more money you potentially have that just becomes excess cash. That's how you could save that money. So, like, for example, like right now, like because of the RV and stuff, I have to pay for parking because I don't have a cheaper setup right now for, how I store my vehicle, how I live in it, where I park and live in it. The rental cost in Florida typically it ranges anywhere from $400 to almost $2,000. That's just to park an RV. Okay, that's just to park an RV. So so you can live in it. So let's say average you're paying about $600 to $800. Let's say $800. So $800 living expenses in an RV. That's still cheaper than the average rental. Let's say you live in this area in Florida and you have a apartment rental of 2-bedroom apartment. You're looking at $1,200 to $1,600 a month. That's like more than I make a month right now in my part-time job. Okay, and you're like, wow, then you just need to get a better job. Yeah, it's easier said than done, But the issue is this: even if you have a better job, if you're having to pay $1,600 a month to $1,200 a month to live, that's money you could be saving. Okay, now in my situation, I'm paying roughly close to like, $600 to $800 a month, which is actually pretty cheap if you're talking about people renting an apartment or something for $1,200. So already I'm on the cheaper side. But to me, because I'm trying to raise right now, because I'm looking at trying to retire here soon, I'm trying to raise $2,500. I mean, not $2,500, $25,000. I'm going to try to save $25,000 within 1 or 2 years. Which, if you're making a lot of money, that's not a hard goal to do. But if you're making even less than like right now, I guess I'm making probably less than $20,000 a year. Okay, it becomes a little difficult. Not a little. It's like, how can you save 25 if you're only making 20? Well, you can't. You're gonna have to earn more, so you have to make up that difference. But if I'm able to cut out my rent, okay, which some people will say that's crazy. Well, we're talking extreme right now. Okay, we're talking. If I want to reach my goal, and you're like, what is that goal? That goal is retirement. Okay, so if it means suffering, as long as it doesn't kill me, okay, for another year or two, I might be willing to do it. Okay, and that's gonna vary from person to person. But for me, I'm like, I think I could do it. And that's why some of you are saying, why is he looking at trying to move back into a little car? Because living in a little car, I can cut my living expenses down right now. In addition to the food, I have to pay, let's say, $700, $800. It's costing me roughly $1,000 just to live without child support. So if I'm able to cut out the rental, that's like about $600-$700 extra each month that I can save. In a year, that's like $8,000 just off rent. Okay, that's nothing else has changed. So I can save $7,000-$8,000 by cutting out rent, and that's cheap. For some of you who have like a 2-bedroom apartment or something like that, you're looking at $12,000. And if you have even more, and then it's not just the rental of the apartment. You got to understand, there's also cable TV, internet, and all those other fees. So by the time you finish adding all that together, and if you're in a house, it's even more expensive because you always got to pay for repair. Then you got the lawn to mow and all these other things. It's little expenditures that add up. You could save roughly by moving out of a house. You could save, if you were paying a rent and stuff or a mortgage, you could save like over $20,000, $15,000 to $20,000 just like that in a year. Okay. Now they say on average, your living expense for your housing and stuff like that should only be like at the most 1/3 of what you take in. So if it's costing you $1,000 a month to rent or to stay where you're at, in theory you should be making $30,000 or more. And if you're not making $30,000 and you're paying $1,000 a month for rent, you're negative. You're not negative, but you're not gonna have a very good time. It's gonna be hard for you to save or do anything. So for me, the biggest expenditure that you can cut out is rent. And you're like, well, how do you do that? Well, one, if you're in an apartment situation, try to find something cheaper. You're like, well, it's cheaper than an apartment. Well, it depends on your own personal situation, but you could potentially move into a room, rent a room for $400 to $600 a month instead of $1,000 for a whole apartment. You could conceivably rent out your apartment and get some money coming in that way. You can also possibly move into a mobile home. Yeah, some people are suggesting, I'm going to read this because there's some really good stuff here. because there's some good tips here on some people are saying. So let's say you're used to living in a nice house. I know it's going to be tough, but if you're saying, well, shit, I'm nearing retirement age and I'm looking at possibly losing my job soon, which means the money coming in is going to go away. You've got to cut your expenditures, and one of your biggest expenditures is living. I mean, a house or something. Okay, so if you can move into a mobile home, if you can rent, honestly, if you're going to retire, it depends on what your plan is. Because I tell you the ultimate secret for my escape, if you want to call it that, and some of you already know, I'm planning on going to Thailand. And the reason for that is you got to look at the value of money, you know. But let's deal with the United States for now. I'm just going to show you how you can plan for the future. The first thing is to save money. So if you're paying $2,000 a month mortgage and you can get it down to like $1,000, that's $10,000-$12,000 you can save each year, okay, towards your retirement. Just cash. That even if you don't invest it and make any more money out of it, you can save that automatically. If you can get into an apartment or something that's cheaper than what you're doing, you know, the difference in the cost is what you would save. But if you get into like a mobile home, okay, that can be even cheaper. Could be as low as $500 or $600 a month, okay, depending on where. But it might be kind of a bad area or whatever. But if you can deal with it for like a year or two, that's just $10,000-$20,000 extra money that you just got magically. If you really decide to go extreme, you can start looking at van dwelling, okay, and or remember, the idea is you're still making income, so you're still making money during all this. Because if you're not making money, it's going to be hard to save any money. So the more money you can make, the faster your saving rate will be, okay, how much you can save. But you're continuing to try to work and make money. If you can move into a vehicle like I'm going to do, your cost of living could drop down to $100 or $200 a month. Basically, whatever it costs in gasoline and food and your phone, you know, your cell phone or whatever. It could be very low. And here's another tip. Let's say you decide to do like me and you're like, well, I'm going to go live in a vehicle because he's saying that you can save money like that. It is hard, okay? But here's the thing. If you live in a vehicle, something to consider. And this is what drives me, okay? Some people have a car that they make a payment on. Like they'll pay $200 to $500 a month on a car. I'm like, holy schmoly. You're paying $200 to $500 a month to pay for a car to drive around in. That's $5,000, you know, $2,000 to $5,000 a year that you have to pay. More than, you know, it's more, let's say an average of $3,000 or $4,000 a year that you have to pay just for the luxury of driving that vehicle. But it's even more expensive than that, because if the bank still owns your vehicle and you have to pay a mortgage or a rental on it or whatever, you have to pay the fees for the bank loan, you have to have full coverage on your car. And full coverage can get expensive. It can be like, you know, a couple $1,000s a year. So my advice, if you're in a crunch, you're about to lose your home, you're about to lose your job or whatever, you're about to suddenly need money, get rid of that car that you're making a payment on. Get rid of it. Resell it, trade it in, or whatever, and get a car that runs halfway decently, even if it doesn't look like the newest thing. This car I bought was, I think I got it for like $900, okay? And it's going to be my little house for $900. You know, by the time I finish, maybe $1,000, because I added like $100 worth of stuff. If you include the batteries and stuff, maybe $1,200, okay? But basically, when you get a car that you fully own, you know, just make sure you get one that's going to last you for the year or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever you plan on keeping it. You can get by with minimum coverage on it. So already your insurance can drop way down. So that can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars each year. We're just talking money just magically appearing. Okay, so that's another trick, is to do that. The other thing to do is consider the foods you're eating. A lot of people eat out a lot. You know, in America, you have the convenience factor of eating out. But the problem with eating out is it's ultra expensive. Now, the good thing about COVID-19 is a lot of people experience cooking and stuff. And some people actually have learned that, hey, you know what? Cooking for yourself saves you a shitload of money. Really. If you go out, let's say a cheap meal at McDonald's, if you want to call it cheap, for one person is approximately $7 now. It costs about $7 per person to eat at McDonald's. So if you have a family of 3, you know, that's $21 to $25 just to eat one meal. $25 is enough money to buy groceries to feed your family of 3 for probably about 3 weeks. I mean, 3 days to 5 days or more, depending on what you buy. But you're talking one meal versus 3 days at a minimum. And so one meal, if you had to eat all day and you ate McDonald's, most people would try to cut back, maybe only eat twice at McDonald's. So $50 to eat at McDonald's for one day, okay, times 3 days, that's $150. $150 for 3 days to eat just at McDonald's? Are you kidding me? We're not even talking a fancy restaurant. But if you had $150, that could feed your family for half the month. 15 days versus 3 days. So food is another thing you can cut back on. If you can learn to do like the Asians. Asian countries are poor, but they seem to eat very well because, well, they're an agricultural country. You know, like Thailand is agricultural. So food is really cheap. But the other thing about it is this. A lot of the people that eat rice. So if you can learn to eat rice, rice is still, in America even, fairly cheap. So you eat rice as your main dish, and for the side dish, you have like meat. You know, you could even buy like really nice steak or whatever. And what Americans typically eat, like one steak for one person, can feed a whole family. So you could buy one steak, cut it into thin slices, and use it to make stir fry, use it to make fried rice, you know, things like that. Because the main meal, you got to get into like the Asian mindset of eating like rice as your main dish, and then the meat and the vegetables and stuff are side dishes. Rice isn't the side dish. Rice is the main dish. So saving on your housing can save you a ton of money. Saving on your car, it's not just the car, it's the insurance. Okay? By going to a car that you don't have to make a payment on, you can cut your insurance to minimum. Then food. Eating in instead of eating out. Learning to eat stuff like spaghetti. I know this is all like lots of carbs. Okay, the reason for carbs and stuff is this: they help to fill you up. Okay, but you could even eat better. I mean, you could have vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, and it would still be cheaper than eating out all the time. Now, some of you might say, well, but I like eating out. Well, leave yourself a treat. Maybe go out to eat once a week or once a month. Okay, whatever you can get by with. I take my kids out. Some of you who are my friends on Facebook, you know, we go out to eat like at big, huge buffets and stuff that are really nice buffets. But those meals cost me, for like taking my 2 kids or whatever, usually about $10 to $12 per person. So that's like $30 with tip, you know, to go out to eat, which gets expensive. But I do that like once a month. You know, so it's an expenditure I'm willing to take a hit on. So I'm not saying that you have to live like you're poor. What I'm saying is adjust your thinking. Because instead of spending $150 for 3 days of eating McDonald's, you could have 15 days of food. And some of that food could be steak or whatever. I don't know if you guys see some of my cooking episodes. I cook using steak, I use pork, I use meat, which is kind of expensive when you go out to eat. Like a pork chop, to buy a pork chop meal, it's like $9 to $12 for a plate, you know, even at Denny's or whatever, which isn't like a fine dining, okay? But cooking that same pork chop yourself, it's $2 or $1 if you get the packet that has like 4 or 5 pieces for like $3 or $4. It's like $1 or less. And if you're really frugal, that one pork chop, and you're like an Asian family in Thailand or whatever, you can take that one sliver of pork chop, and that can serve 4 people by cutting it into little strips and serving it. You know, I'm just scrolling through here. Hard Life is saying McDouble, McChicken, and small fries is only $5. See, to you, you're saying only $5. I'm like, $5? Heck, I could buy a pack of pork chops for $5, and that'll last me the whole week. So you're saying the McChicken, McDonald's, and the fries and stuff is $5 to you. That is cheap. To me, that's one meal that you got with the McDonald's and the French fries. Okay, I can buy a pack of meat and maybe even some potatoes to eat with that for a whole week. So what you eat in one meal, I can have for basically about 10 meals or more, you know. So that's what I'm talking about saving. And I know you're saying it's only $5. Let's say you did that every day. That's 5 times 30. That's $150. Do you know how many pork chops you can buy from that, and rice and spaghetti and sauce? Do you know how much potatoes you could buy? Look at the order of the potatoes from McDonald's French fries. It's like a dollar for the little packet, almost $1.50 or $2 for the medium-sized one. You could buy pre-made potatoes, not potatoes, French fries and stuff, even at Walmart, like a bag for $1 or $1.50. And you could make like 10 boxes of those McDonald's fries, okay? Or you can get potatoes yourself and then cut them up and then, fry them up yourself if you really want it fresh. And they actually taste better. So the point I'm trying to make is stop believing that cheap food in America is cheap. Like a McDonald's $1 burger might seem cheap, but really you could get a bunch of meat, if you went to like discount meat and stuff. It's helpful if you have refrigeration and freezer, because you can buy in bulk and then use only, what you need. So it's a little bit easier if you live in a house than it is in a car. But even in a car, you could buy a packet of meat for like let's say $3. Sometimes I buy the little pork chop packs, and that will serve me for the whole day. So $3 to eat 3 meals. And they're not crappy meals. They're like pork chop meals, stir-fried rice, or, something that's really good. Maybe we'll do some cooking with this just to show you how cheap it can really be. So your biggest savings, I'm going from the biggest, which is living. The housing, try to cut that out. Get as low as you can on that. If you get really, really low, you can try to live in a vehicle. The other one is automobile. Try to go with a car that you don't have to make payments, because not only you not have to keep paying the bank for it, you can also lower your insurance. So that's another way. And the third big one is food. So those are the 3 big things. The other one that you can save a lot of money on, okay, if you really want to, I take my kids and stuff, when we go buy stuff, clothing and stuff, at Goodwill or other thrift stores. But even at Goodwill, like my son's really into like designer stuff. So he looks up designer stuff, and I teach my kid how to shop and stuff, but I don't really care about design. If I need something, I just buy it. What's really weird for me is, because I live in a car now pretty much, or want to live in a car, when I see stuff, I don't really want it anymore. There was a time when I wanted everything, but now it's like I don't really need anything. I'm finding that I don't need anything. The only thing I need is food and shelter. And, maybe some money to spend with my kids. We go out and we go to like amusement parks and things like that. I'm like, how can you afford that? I can afford it because I'm not paying $5 a meal at McDonald's. $5 for me will feed me and my kids rotisserie chicken from Walmart and rice. And that's not one meal, that's probably 2 meals for each of us. So instead of $5 for one person to eat McDonald's hamburger and fries, $5 for me will buy 2 meals for 3 people. And that's how you can save money. When you start thinking like that, saving money becomes like not really that hard. And actually, it's a lot more pleasant. You eat better. Now, the one big thing that I've been spending money on that I'm trying to cut back on because it'll be better for my health is soda. It'll also help you lose weight if you're trying to lose weight. A lot of people in America buy like comfort foods like potato chips and soda cans. Okay, those things are really bad for you because they're high in salt, and they're basically just bad for your health, and they make you fat. Just drinking 1 can of soda every day, you could gain 10-20 pounds a year. Okay, so I do drink it because it's a comfort food and it gives me high energy real quick. But I'm looking at my situation because I'm trying to save $25,000 within a year or 2. I'm like, well, if I cut out on soda, I could save probably more than $1,000 a year. That's an additional $1,000 or $2,000 that goes towards my $25,000 that I'm trying to raise and save. So, cutting soda out, maybe only getting it on special occasions or whatever, will not only save you money, it'll help you with your health. Okay. The other way to save is basically, if you can cut out cable TV, It used to be that, you know, to get entertainment like cable TV and stuff, it was like $29 to $35 a month. Now they have all these stupid package deals where you got to pay like $80 to $150. Dude, that's like almost $2,000 a year, $1,500 to $2,000 a year. That's enough to travel somewhere overseas for a vacation. And if you go to a country where the dollar has high value, you could have a lot of fun for $1,500. Okay, so if you can do without cable TV, you know, you can save yourself hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. And you're like, well, then how do you get entertainment? Well, you can get, you know, the new TV format is HD automatically. So just get a $15 antenna, and you can pick up channels through there. But if you want like cable access, similar to cable access, because you like having a lot of channels to watch, there are services out there that are free that run ads on them, like YouTube, obviously. But then you got this thing called Pluto TV, Pluto. Look them up, Pluto, Pluto TV. And it's just a website, plutotv.com or pluto.com. I don't know what it's called, but it acts like a cable service provider almost. And they make their revenue off running ads, just like TV stations used to, but they stream their data. So you can watch channels on demand, including like MTV, some stuff from HBO. They're running some old videos, you know, and stuff like that. You won't get the latest. But literally, you have thousands of channels to choose from, like you would on cable TV. And sometimes they run programming like a normal TV station. Like you have like Greatest American Hero, you have CSI, you have Jeopardy, you have all the shows, MTV and Bachelorette. All these shows run on there on Pluto TV, so you can watch them for free. And you're like, but then what about the internet? Well, you can, if you have a house and you're willing to pay the $70 minimum per month to get internet, you can do that. But if you want to go a little bit cheaper and you don't watch that much TV, or you watch a lot of DVDs or downloaded movies or whatever like that, you might be able to get by like I do using a cell phone service with unlimited data. And they will throttle you down at a certain point. But right now I use Metro, and I'm on unlimited, and it does throttle me down because I do a lot of broadcasting, and that uses data. Okay, but if I didn't do the broadcasting, I could probably watch as much TV as I wanted on there. By setting the phone as a Wi-Fi waypoint, your smart TV or your Roku unit can tune into like Pluto TV, and there's a lot of other services and stuff like that you can watch movies for free. So, you know, that's one way of saving money if you enjoy that. I use the internet to play games like World of Warcraft, and that could cost money. You know, it's normally like $15 a month to play that game, but I play it for free because I play the old version on free servers that are called private servers. So that saves me $15 a month. And, you know, I play it on, and not only that, I don't need a brand new computer. I can play it on an older system, which I buy for like $10 or $25. Okay, so you know, it's not like you have to live like you got nothing. Okay, you can still live pretty comfortably and have nice stuff, but it depends on what you want. If you want the latest, greatest state of the art, you're gonna have a hard time. But if you just want like entertainment, a little, you know, like playing old games and stuff like that, and you don't mind, it's just for relaxing, and I prefer the older games, by the way, you can do it for free. Okay, so those are some other tips that I have. My biggest expenditure right now, okay, is pretty much child support. I can't stop. I can't change that amount, okay? So certain bills you cannot change. But all the other stuff, you know, like even the RV parking and stuff, I'm looking at changing. Because I you know, it's been good because it's so comfortable to have electricity and running water and stuff like that. But at the same time, because my goal is to try to have $25,000, you know, within a year or two, I'm looking at taking that hit. And you're like, well, why the magic number of 25,000? Well, it turns out that you know, like to try to retire in Thailand and stuff, you have to be 50 years old or older, and you have to show that you can have at least about $25,000 in your bank account before they'll let you go there on a retirement visa. Okay, and the reason for that is this: 25,000 US dollars right now in Thailand is worth like 30 times more. So you take 25,000 and you multiply it by 30, and you're looking at like 30 times 25, whatever that is. 4 times would be what? 4 times would be 100,000. So you're looking at like 3 million. Imagine retiring with like $3 million. Okay, that's what it's similar to. Now, but the things in Thailand, if you go by baht value, it would be a little bit more expensive than dollars. But you know, it's still cheaper than using actual U.S. dollars. So I was watching this guy. I'm trying to remember the channel. Maybe I'll link some of these channels. I've been looking at a lot of expats and stuff living in Thailand, and like right now, I pay for my living about $700 or $800 a month, and I'm living in an RV. It's not exactly luxury living. The guy in Thailand was taking people on, you know, he's retired in Thailand. He was taking his viewers on tours of condos in Thailand at Pattaya, which is a huge tourist spot, okay? And he was looking at the latest condo developments and showing them off to show what you could get at certain, you know, money levels. And these were kind of higher end facilities because they're like pretty new, and they have state-of-the-art Western stuff like air conditioning. You know, they have like 50, 60-inch widescreen flat TV. They have washer dryers. They have, they're nice. They look expensive, okay? Those kind of places here in America would probably rent out for about $5,000 to $8,000 per month. To live in one of these facilities in the United States would probably be about $5,000 to $8,000 a month. But in Thailand, the prices range from about 10,000 baht to 25,000 baht for the most expensive one, which was really nice. You know, it had like an oasis water pool you could look at down below. It was a nice condo with parking, you know, in the building and stuff. And for that $25,000, I think it comes up to like $700 a month. That's what I'm paying to live in an RV here. I'm watching him and he's like, oh, this is expensive. Because he's gotten Thai accustomed. But he's like, yeah, $25,000, a super nice unit. It looks like, you know, that same kind of unit would rent for about $5,000 to $8,000 a month here in the United States. But in Thailand, you can get the same unit for about $700. Then he went to a cheaper one, which was in the same building, which he thought looked better, and I thought looked just fine. And it was, I think, 15,000 baht, which I calculated comes up to about $550. $550, you could live in pretty much almost like it'd be like almost like living in a mansion. Okay? So for under $1,000 in Thailand, if you have that for rent, you can live very well. Now me, I'm not going to have that kind of money. Even in Thailand, because I'm planning on retiring, okay? I don't plan on working unless I want to, okay? Unless I have to. But I'm hoping that I don't have to work unless I want to. Maybe do YouTube for side money. But I'm planning on living off for rent less than $200 a month, maybe $150 or less per month. That's what I'm planning on living off. So my $150 place would be a little room studio apartment that would rent around here in the United States for probably about $1,200 a month or more. So, you know, I would basically, I think the rough estimate would be 10 times. So whatever you live in right now, you could probably live in Thailand for 10 times less. Okay. So I would rent a place for I'm looking at trying to rent a place for $45 a month. And you're like, is it really that cheap? If you don't go high end, you know, if I don't need American stuff, you know, if I don't need like a fancy view and you know, like that place that he was showing looked like the Taj Mahal to me. It was so nice. It was like $600 a month. I'm like, wow, man, if I had real retirement and I was making like about $1,500 to $2,000 a month, I could live in Thailand like a prince. I could be like a king over there, you know, because it's so cheap. What they were, and Pattaya is a tourist spot. Okay, so for me, I would go. I'm not even going to Pattaya unless I can get a cheap place there, but I doubt it. I would go wherever the cheapest is because in my retirement, I'm just planning on getting a home base where I stay. Okay, so the other tip, I guess the final tip I have for this broadcast is this: know that your dollar is worth $1 here in the United States, but if you shop around, there are potential countries especially, you know, if you want like people that speak English and stuff, where there's huge expat population. Some of them that used to be good deals were Panama, which some people might still think is a good deal. Panama's beautiful. I've been there. Um, you might consider moving overseas. Look up retirement in overseas countries. Potentially, some of you could even end up, if you're single, you know, for whatever reason, you could end up marrying a foreigner, because that's might be the only way you might be allowed to live there. Other countries like Thailand will let you live there if you can show that you have a certain amount of money. So if you're wanting to live in Thailand, start saving. You need at least $25,000. Okay, but if you have you're retired already and you have a pension or whatever, and you're making like $1,500 to $2,000, $2,500 a month, you could easily retire in Thailand or some other place like that and live like a king, honestly. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up the Thai channels that are run by expats. You know, not the young guys showing the sleazy side of town, okay? You know, that is there. But honestly, those people, I don't think they live there. They just there for the tourism, the sex tourism. But I'm talking about people who actually retire and live there. And now, living in a foreign country like Thailand, it helps if you can learn to adapt and become Thai. Because if you try to live there as an American, you might struggle. Because Thai people have a different viewpoint, a different attitude. You've seen some of it with me, with everything being good enough. It doesn't mean it's shit. Okay, it just means that you don't need perfection. You just need it good enough. And good enough in Thailand, you know, if you have the money, it's way better than good enough. It's extremely good enough. So hopefully, if I get my wish and I'm able to retire and save enough money, when you see me in Thailand, it's going to be like almost topsy-turvy. You're going to say, how the heck can he go from living in the woods in a little hut to living in this nice building? It has to do with the conversion rate of the money and also the plan, you know. So if you see me struggling and stuff over the next year or two coming up, it's on purpose. It's because I'm trying to save money, not because I'm having to do it for survival anymore, which is what it was in the past. But now I'm looking to do that, not because I have to, but because I want to, because I want to save money. Just thought I'd scroll through and read some of your messages and stuff here. Just scrolling through here. Yeah, Pretty Girl says saving money on food. The other thing you can do, believe it or not, to save money, and this is this may or may not exist for you and stuff. Did you know that if you combine resources, like if there's two people eating, it's generally cheaper than one person eating by themselves. So potentially get a partner, you know, and you're like, what do you mean? A partner that you enjoy, you know, like for companionship, but also to save money. It's easier when it's like, okay, where I rent the RV right now, let's say I spend $700 for rental or $800. That's one person for $800. If I add a second person, the price just got cut in half. So the more people you can have, you know, the cheaper it can become, especially if both of you are working and saving money. So you can save twice as fast. So consider, if you have a house and you're like, dang, this is expensive, but you own the house, consider trying to rent out a room, maybe 2 rooms. Or maybe consider renting out your entire, if I had a house right now, this is Denoy's quick money maker, okay? If I had a 3-bedroom house like I had before, I would rent out each room for $400, $300 to $400. So let's say you get 2 rooms, because $300 is super cheap. You'll easily rent it out. That's $600 for 2 rooms, plus $400 for another room. That's $400 and $600. That's $1,000 a month income. Then your cost, you know, let's say your mortgage or whatever, you can use it to pay your mortgage. But I would say if you own a mortgage and you're looking to retire, don't count on this. You might want to get rid of that house, honestly, because anytime you owe money, you're in a negative situation. But let's say you do own the house. That just becomes an asset. You can get $1,000 a month, and then let's say you include the electricity and stuff, make them pay for it, okay? Have them pay for the electric and all the other bills. But let's say you have to do maintenance and repair on it. Let's say you put $200 a month into the house. So you get $800 a month profit, and you have a camper or something, an RV, even one that doesn't run, You could buy an RV that doesn't run and have it towed to your backyard or whatever, you know, if your city allows you to park it there, and you can live in it. Think about that. A lot of RVs and stuff right now, people are trying to move into RVs and stuff, but there are some, quote, junky ones that you could get for under $1,000 or for free. If you had a house or land where you could park it, you could buy that or get it for free and park it and live in it for free and rent out your house and make money on that. So that's not only saving money, that's making money. So, you know, you could do that. Those are just some options for making money and stuff. It's just stuff that I can think of real quick if you're kind of on the poorer side. You know, you don't have much and you need to make money, or you need to save money. Let me scroll through and read what you guys got here before I sign out. Spider's Nest says she loves making spring rolls with rice paper and using different meats I buy on sale. Yeah, spring rolls are super delicious. Now you're making me want that. Just scrolling through. Elizabeth says she actually did a challenge and spent $5 for 1 week, and 1 loaf of bread, 1 dozen eggs, 1 bag of rice, 1 bag of mixed vegetables, 1 pack of cheese, and 3 bananas. I don't know if you guys heard that. Elizabeth did a challenge trying to live off $5 a week. I mean, this is a game you can play right now if you're not in that crisis. You know, limit yourself. Say, let's try to live off $1 a day. Can you do it? Maybe we'll play that, you know. But basically, $1 a day, that's $30 a month. Which, for one person, I think you could do it. One person could easily do 30 days on $30. The other option that exists for people who want to use the services, if you're not making a lot of money, you know, I don't use these services and stuff, but you can. You can apply for food stamps. Okay, that can help you with. In Florida, they only give you like $120 to $200. I don't know what the amount is. It's not a lot, but it's more than enough for one person to live off. Let me put it that way. So you could consider food stamps. Okay. The other thing you can consider is they have food banks. A lot of churches and stuff like that in different towns. People donate food from grocery departments that are about to spoil or go bad, so they need to be eaten right away. And you can get fresh vegetables and fruits and stuff. Some of them might be a little bit bruised. Just cut around the bruised part if you don't like eating bruised fruit, okay? So you can get free food that way. There are people who go dumpster diving, which I haven't done, and I don't really want to do unless I might do it just for fun. And some people swear by it because you can get all sorts of good food out of it. But I wouldn't do that, you know, or I don't do that. But there are people who do that. That's one way to save money. I don't even get to those extremes. I usually buy stuff. I try to buy stuff from Aldi's or Dollar Tree or Thrifty, and because right now I have access to a freezer, I buy in bulk and I cut up what I need. Yeah, Pretty Girl says she's bad with soda too. Soda is one of the biggest things you can save money on. Think about it. And the other thing you can save, if you do like drinking soda, buy soda from the stores like Walmart where it's cheaper than buying them at McDonald's or something, because a cup at McDonald's will cost you $1 to $3 for just soda. And that's like 1 or 2 cans, which when you buy it yourself, it's 25 to 50 cents a can or less. Probably about an average of 30 cents a can is what you pay. So even if you're going to drink soda, if you buy it yourself in a can, you already save. Because for 30 cents, it would cost you about $1.50 to get that in the store, you know, out of the soda machine. So already you're saving a lot of money. Idoji says he watches more YouTube than TV. YouTube has entertainment on there, but also YouTube has a lot of informational stuff, you know, and it can help you by watching, because it's not, when you have like mainstream TV and stuff, a lot of it is staged, or they only show certain things if they think there's going to be enough viewer interest. But on YouTube, you can watch people share their lives. And you get to watch people that show how to like cook fried rice, like for $1 and then feed 10 people or something. You know, maybe I'll show you how to do that. I can show you how to make egg fried rice if you don't have meat, okay? And we know that eggs, depending on where you live, in Florida, in my area, sometimes you can get a dozen eggs for under $1, for like 80 cents, 78 cents for a dozen eggs. You can make egg fried rice using using rice, the eggs, and soy sauce, and vegetable mix and badia. Probably you could make that dish for $1 to $1.50 and it would feed a family of 5 or 6. Imagine $1 to $1.50 feeding 5 people. And they're not going to be hungry. It's like real food. And it's nutritious because the eggs provide protein even if you don't have access to meat. And the frozen vegetables, you say, well, vegetables are expensive. They sell that frozen vegetable pack in Dollar Tree for $1. Okay, the cut peppers and onions and stuff. It's $1. And honestly, in that meal, you're only going to use either 1/3 to 1/2 of the bag. So that $1 bag will actually be enough to make 2 or 3 different dishes. So maybe we'll do some really low-cost cooking just to kick off, the theme of saving money, because a lot of people right now are hard-pressed for money. So maybe I will show, even though it's hard for me because I'm mostly by myself. So if I cook a dollar meal, that probably lasts me like 3 or 4 different meals. I could save it. So but I'll try to make a small quantity just to show you the kind of stuff you can make in quantity to feed a family. Like imagine feeding your family for $1 a day. You could have a family of 4 and you can feed them for $1 a day. That's $30 a month. I would say up it maybe with all the additional side stuff and some little snacks and things extra. Maybe even throw in some meat. Then you could probably feed a family of 4 for $50 a month. And we're not talking crappy food. So I'll show some of these dishes that I can make, and you can make too. And they're not bad. They're actually delicious. Just scrolling through here. Idoji says you would like to work in Thailand. If your English is fluent and you're a native English speaker, you can get a good job there. They're in need of teachers over there right now. They do have work visas and stuff like that. But if you're trying to get to Thailand, I think the best way, the easiest way that I can think of is to marry somebody. Yeah, it's what people used to do to come to America. Now a lot of people are wanting to do in Thailand. I might, if I get to Thailand, I might help people do that. Scrolling through here. MoBang says if you can stash away $100 per month, we can watch it grow. It also serves as an unexpected fund for emergencies. Even if you can't get 100, if you can put a little bit aside, you can have it grow. If you invest some of that, maybe we'll talk about investments and stuff like that, you can make your dollar grow to even more. Okay? And I can show you, I can tell you a little secret, because you guys know I'm a gambler, right? I can teach you how to win at gambling. So maybe I'll do that. And some of you are like, if you know all this stuff, why don't you do that, Denoy? Why didn't you do that when all this stuff happened? I'm going to be honest with each and every one of you here, and that is, each of us get to choose the path in life that we decide to take. So everything that you saw that happened to me and continues to happen to me is based upon me choosing that. Although sometimes, crazy stuff happens and you just have to react. But how you react determines the outcome, and what you choose to do afterwards determines where you are. I do believe that, everything that happened to me in my situation and even ending up on YouTube and stuff is not random. And I know some people think that, I don't know how to make money and all that. I know how to make money. I used to charge people $2,500 per day or more just to have me there working with them. But, and people would pay it. Okay, just so you know. But a lot of people make judgments when they see someone who is homeless or someone working as a janitor or whatever. They assume that person doesn't have the skill set of working a job that pays $250 an hour or even $2,000 an hour or more. That's just not true. Okay, sometimes people choose to be in a situation that makes them look like they don't have money or they're poor or whatever. And they have certain reasons they do that. And it may be personal. Okay. Now, other times, luck will do that. Like I saw on YouTube a guy that used to be a millionaire that lost everything. And then people look down on him now that he's homeless and living on the streets in a cardboard box. Okay. He used to be a millionaire. Now, how was he a millionaire before? Circumstance. Okay. Luck. His job, his knowledge, or whatever. Did he lose all that when he became homeless? No, he still has it. It's just the circumstance right now. So my hope is that if I get my wish and if everything goes smoothly with my retirement, you'll actually see quite a transformation in me, in my life, and you know, what we're able to do and stuff. But hopefully, if you've been watching or have just tuned in and stuff, it'll help you in whatever situation you're dealing with in learning to basically live the life that you want. You know, and money isn't everything. I mean, it does make a difference in our world right now, but it really isn't everything. And once you realize that, the pursuit of money doesn't become your goal in life. Your goal in life becomes the pursuit of happiness. You know, you might need some money for some of that happiness, but you don't need. Some people have way more money than they ever need, and they're still not happy. I can tell you, Steve Jobs, look at his death, his life, what it was like. He had so much money, but I can tell you his death was very sad. And it's because he placed a priority on money and business success versus on his relationship with his family and his daughter. Okay? So keep that in mind. And once you have a formulation of what makes you happy or what you think you want for your life to be happy, that helps to guide you. And then the money is just secondary. You only need as much money as you need to get to that goal. And then the other thing about it is this. Let's say you do have a goal and you start working towards it, and then you see that, you know what, it's not making you happy or it's not going to happen. You can change it. There's nothing in life that says that you have to keep going down the rabbit hole, you know, if you think it's going the wrong way. You always have that option of changing. Just scrolling through here. Hard Life says Mexico is cheap. Yeah, lots of. You look at places where Americans go to as tourists and stuff like that. If you can go live there, it's really cheap. The other idea about being cheap is this. If you go to Thailand and you try to eat hamburgers every day, like McDonald's hamburger, it's going to be expensive. Or if you have Starbucks every day, it's going to be expensive. If you go live like the Thais and have Thai coffee and drink like the Thais and make your own coffee and stuff like that, then you can live there really cheap. That's the other thing is this. If you go overseas and you try to live like you're in America, it's probably going to be expensive. If you go overseas and you live like the locals, it's going to be super, super cheap. You're going to be surrounded by so much money, you can't even spend it fast enough. Because it turns out in a lot of foreign countries, they don't spend a lot of money. I'm just scrolling through here. Looks like a lot of people had really good advice. I'm just reading the comments. People talking about like making, Elizabeth was talking about making grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but you could buy a loaf of bread from Walmart for like $1. That's a loaf, which will last you more than a week. And then you can get the cheese for about $1 from Walmart, or, you know, the cheese substitute. I know it's not the best food, okay? Honestly, it's kind of bad. But if you're trying to save money and stuff and not eating it every single day for the rest of your life, it can save you money. You're talking about the cheese or whatever for $1 or $2 and a loaf of bread. So you're talking about $2 that you could make lunch every day for about a week and a half. A week or a week and a half by making grilled cheese sandwiches. It's $1 for $2. $2 for about 10 days. That's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but that's American costs. So that's how cheap you can actually live here in this country. Is it the most nutritious? Probably not. Would I recommend having additional things than that? Yeah. But will it keep you from getting hungry? Yeah. And honestly, it's not much worse than what you get at McDonald's for $5, one meal. Just scrolling through here. Pretty Girl says she's got a family of 7 is what she's feeding. I'm going to let you know that a lot of Asian families have big numbers. You know, Asians, Hispanics and stuff. And Black Americans, you know. Okay? Afro-Americans, if you want to call them that. But basically, and even some whites. But if you have a huge family and stuff like that, if you can learn to eat like with the countries that deal with that all the time, like Asia, they eat rice. So if you can get your family onto rice, there's lots of different ways to cook rice. The side dishes bring out the flavor and stuff. They tend to be cheaper. We're going to look at some of it. I'm going to probably do some episodes on that. The other thing is noodles, like spaghetti is always a good standby. The problem is this: if you keep making the same stuff, it gets kind of boring. So maybe we'll start looking at recipes. I'm excited to try to get to Thailand because there's a lot of dishes that people make there that are very cheap. And they're cheap in Thailand, and they're not going to be as cheap to make in the United States, but they can still be fairly cheap. So, one of my big goals will be to show people how to make these dishes, authentic Thai dishes, and show people how they can eat better and also save money. Renegade says, no marriage. No marriage means, and I can understand that, those who have gone through bad marriages and bad relationships before. So, it's just an option for moving to another country. Just scrolling through here. And Elizabeth says that I mix a bunch of seasoning up in a container, and the family uses on everything they cook. That's another way to save money, is to make your own spices. If you have something that makes things taste good and you make it easy to use, basically the easier you can make life for cooking and doing things like that, the more you're going to want to do it. For me, I simplified it just by using badia for everything. Really, there's nothing too magical about badia other than that it tastes okay. And I put it on all my food because I'm not much of a chef. And when I put it on my food, it enhances the flavor. It makes it taste good. Okay? So it prompts me to cook more often because I don't have to deal with cutting onions and doing all this crazy stuff, which some people actually enjoy that, okay? And it's good to use fresh onions and things like that. But me, I like to get my eggs, put some oil down, put the eggs on there, pour badia on it. I'm done. And it tastes great. Just scrolling through here. Elizabeth has a lot of really good input there on seasoning and things like that. So if you guys like flavorful food, make sure you scroll through and read her messages. And Renegade Ramblin' Van says, the problem with money is the more you make, the more you spend. And that is so true, kind of, okay? It has to do with your philosophy. There are people who make a lot of money but don't spend any. I think it has to do with your perception of what money is and what your goal in life is. And I think it's important, regardless of your age, to decide what makes you happy. One of the American ideals is the pursuit of happiness. And I think if you can clarify for yourself, and remember, it can change. Hey, no one says that just because you say this is your goal, that you have to do that. If you decide later, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. You're actually allowed to do that. And who cares what anybody else says? This is your life. It's your goal. It's your pursuit of happiness. And if your pursuit of happiness is collecting a lot of money, that's great. But I'm letting you know that just having a lot of money sitting in a bank when you die is no good. Even having a lot of money in things that you put under your name, it really will not fix the problem if you're not happy when you die. And if you guys can watch Steve Jobs and, like how he died in the ending days and stuff, and see the sadness that he expressed because of his relationship or lack of a relationship with his daughter, Lisa, whom when he put the computer out, he denied that the computer was named after her, okay? But that was Lisa. The Lisa computer was actually named after his daughter that he said wasn't his, but it was. And he knew that, but that's just sadness. But looking on a more positive note, figure for yourself what makes you happy. And I tell you this, the secret to happiness, the pursuit of happiness, notice I said the pursuit of happiness, not getting happy. If you can be happy in your pursuit of happiness, you're going to live a happy life. Because while you're pursuing your goal, your ideal dreams, your goal, your wishes, you should be happy because you're working towards something you really want. And if you're doing what your heart desires, you're going to be happy automatically. So having the pursuit of happiness, the forefathers of America didn't say attaining happiness. They said the pursuit of happiness. So if you pursue happiness because you're doing what you want to do, you're going to be happy all the way. And like I said, if you decide to change what your happiness goal is, it's okay. Because your pursuit of that new goal should give you happiness as well. I'm encouraged to see so many people here chatting with each other. That's what I would like people to do on here, as well as on the Pay It Forward channel. It is how you get to know one another and make new friends, and potentially create your own new network, support network. And you know, that is my biggest goal that I want to leave with this channel. You know, it's basically to return back to the viewers what you gave to me, which is not only friendship, but also the ability to know that I'm not alone. And I think it's very important in life to have friends or people that care about you and that you connect with, because, you know, even it comes back to that Steve Jobs situation. What's going to matter the most in your life isn't how much money you made or the title you got for yourself, whether you're king or president or whatever. It's the people that were in your life and how they feel about you and how you feel about them, your relationships, interpersonal relationships. I think that's probably more important than anything else in life. Just scrolling through. Renegade says marriage can be, Renegade Rambling Van says marriage can be a money pit in itself. Indeed, depending on what happens and, you know, what your marriage is like. But also, being married gives you some benefits, you know. In addition to companionship and stuff, you can save money. And if you're two people who work towards the same common goal, you could save a lot of money. Because having two people working, if both of you are working, you got twice the income coming in, but also your living expenses shared, so it becomes lower. The other thing that it does is this, you know, sometimes life can be overwhelming for one person, and having someone there directly, you know, who is there to hopefully, if you're a partner, if you know, you're married or you're even living together or whatever, you're there to uplift each other. And you know, when one person is not feeling so well or weak or down or getting battered by the world and all the sadness, the other party hopefully is the kind of person that will lift your spirit. And I do think that it's important to find a partner like that, that if you're not in that kind of partnership right now, you might want to look at why not. Okay, and I'm not saying get divorced or break up or whatever, but look at why you two are not supporting each other. Because ultimately, if you're pursuing happiness in your life, you probably want to be in a relationship where the person that is your partner is pursuing happiness too, and you're both making each other happy. Because if the other person is constantly putting you down or something like that, you need to find out why. And you know, if they can't stop doing that, then maybe marriage between the two of you is not the best thing. Because instead of pursuing happiness, you're being detracted from happiness. You know, I don't think anyone's happy with someone harping on them and ragging on them and putting them down all the time. So keep in mind that, you know, if you're in a relationship, whether it's a partnership or whatever, you are a reflection of each other. So if you constantly put down your partner and stuff, maybe that's why they put you down too. George Whitmire says he loves rice. If you love rice like me, then you're already, you know, able to easily transition to not spending too much money on food. Just scrolling through here. Man, all this talk of food is making me hungry. Just scrolling through everybody's comments. All right, I am going to go ahead and sign out. Probably go make some food. You know, maybe I'll do a broadcast just to show you really cheap food if I decide to make it. So anyhow, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for tuning in, all of you for commenting. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit the subscribe button, tap the notification bell. Hopefully, I don't know, YouTube's not notifying people, but hopefully it'll notify you when I'm on. Make sure you tap that like button. It does get counted on, you know, interactions and stuff, and YouTube determines how popular a video is by the number of comments, the number of interactions that it has, as well as the watch time. So take care, everyone. God bless you all. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to post below. And if you want to promote your channel, remember that the Pay It Forward channel is accepting videos from people, showcasing themselves and their videos and their channel. So you can get new viewers on your content on your channel, because we're going to link you back out, as well as possibly make new friends. Okay, and that's what the Pay It Forward is kind of a springboard for people to meet one another and make friends. Potentially, it could even have to do with immigration and helping people move to another country if that's what they decide to do. So until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. Please stay safe. Goodbye now.